Alright, so I've got my chimney going here. This is my first time using my mini Weber Smoky Mountain here. Did my own custom mod of it. Here's my pot and all over here that I've cut through and prepared. I've got just enough gray ash on top of these charcoal briquettes. What I'm actually going to do is put a couple of chunks of wood in here first. It's going to let them come up a little bit slower, and they're still going to get nice and smoky for me. Now, I don't yet have a charcoal ring, and so you're seeing some of the issues with that here, that my charcoal is not quite as contained as I would like. But it's a good start. I'm going to put this on top to contain that heat, and then I'm actually going to end up grabbing just some more charcoals to put on top of that to give myself a little bit more fuel. Today's plan is I'm going to be smoking wings. I've got some veggie sausages and some various vegetables and fruit. This is my first time using this, so this is all very clean. But yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. Like I said, I'm going to go grab some more charcoal to throw on top of my hot stuff down there, give me a little bit more fuel. And when I'm putting my meat on, I'm waiting for this temperature to get up over 200. I'm looking for like 225, 250, somewhere in that range. And then I'm going to get going. So I will come back then when I'm putting the meat on. Alright, so going with a little bit of a take two here, I put the unlit charcoal up on top, and the briquettes just didn't light like I'd hoped for. So I put another starter. I'm using these tumbleweed fire starters, and I've got that down in there, and a little pyramid of unlit ones on top of it. I've got like some light smoking, as you can see, happening. Just there are definitely some lit briquettes, but I want more. So I'm going to get this starter going. And then the plan here is to get these briquettes all lit up and going. And when I get those lit up, I'm going to have a base layer that's started. I'm going to have a few that are not on top of this being actively done. And then I've got new ones on top of those. So when I get this starting to ash over, I'll come back and do the next step. Alright, so I've got this going a bit better this time. My new charcoals are on there and look like they're starting to ash over up top. Probably wait a couple more minutes, but since I've got a nice bed at the bottom, I think these should be going enough to get me going. So we'll see if I can actually build up my heat this time. I'm going to spread these out. Hi, little starter. Spread these out. And again, I'm definitely realizing the value of the charcoal ring that other people use. Going to look into getting one of those absolutely for the future. But I think this will work. I'm going to get a couple of my less lit charcoals on top of that starter that's still going. Yeah, and I think we've got a pretty nice set of charcoals here. Some fully lit, some still getting up to heat, and my wood's starting to catch. So I'm putting my smoker back on top of it now. Set that into place, and we're going to let it do its thing and hopefully get up to temperature. I've yet to actually break that 100 line, so I'm assuming my thermostat works. It seemed to be good when I tested it with frozen water. Which granted wouldn't move much, but also boiled and it came up. Yeah, I'm going to give this about another 15 minutes or so, see what my temperature's at, and hopefully I've got enough heat this time. And if not, I'll go with more charcoal. Still just kind of figuring out what this thing takes, and definitely seeing the value of the charcoal ring now and having done one without it. But that's why I like to test things out and see if doing it the most basic way works. And at least for this, I think I probably could have fixed my initial problem here by just doing 2 full chimneys. So I started with just the 1 chimney, mostly full of charcoals like you saw. And if I had done the 1 chimney and then maybe started another half of a chimney in a similar fashion, dumped that on, and then dumped some unlit charcoals, I think I probably would have been fine without the ring, since I need more charcoals to cover a wider area. But we're going to see what happens. Okay, so I had a little bit of a setback before. I wasn't ever getting up above about 160, 170 degrees. From opening up taking the pot off and looking, I just didn't quite have enough heat getting generated down here. My 2 wood chunks I had put in before were smoking nicely and everything, but my charcoal just wasn't getting there. So taking it off, it's heated those charcoals back up. I made another little tower of charcoals in my chimney starter, put them in here, piled them up. They're starting to get nice and good. I'm going to spread those out now. Nestle this back down in here. So now I should have a good base of charcoals that are going and are probably close to spent at this point. I've got new charcoals in place. I'm going to stick 1 more chunk of wood in here. let that get caught and going, and we're going to put this lid on top and start building our heat again. Get the cooking pot up on there. Yeah, and now we're going to let it build. So you can see already just sitting out, it hasn't really dropped below 125, but again, I had that somewhere in the 160, 170 range earlier, and it just stalled. So hoping with the new charcoals in there, they're going to catch and get going good. Another chunk of wood. I should have some decent amount of fire building. I think part of my problem might be from reading some of the guides is this ridge charcoal that I bought. So this was just when I went to Lowe's and was getting a few things I needed. They had this here on sale. I thought I'd try it out. Based on everything I'm reading, people seem to say that Kingston is just the way to go. It burns really hot, it burns really consistently, and since my problem so far has been keeping my heat up, and considering I am in New England and in general I'm going to be cooler rather than hotter most of the time, I think having hotter charcoals is the right call. So post this smoke, if I can get this smoke done, which I think I will this time, I think I've got a good charcoal base there, but for my future smokes I'll almost certainly switch from ridge to Kingston, or at least like put Kingston down as a base layer and add the ridge on top until my ridge is done, something like that, because the longer, more consistent cooking charcoal is not going to be bad for me. I just need enough hot coals to get it going, and that had been my problem earlier, but already I'm seeing this start to climb here just barely. So I think this is going to work this time. I'm going to give it another 15 minutes or so and check and see how it's doing, but I've got high hopes this time for sure. All right, it's about 15 minutes later. You can see we're creeping up to 250, so that's perfect. I want about a 225 range for these wings. I've got my wings, sausage, peppers, pineapple, onions. Just going with a variety of things to test. From the guide I've been reading, it says to knock this down, knock my vents down. Hopefully you can see this because I can't really look at my preview right now. It says to knock my vents down to about 25% open. I'm going to err on the side of caution with these being slightly cooler charcoals, to go about 33 maybe, because it's said to go to 50 if you wanted a hotter flame. So yeah, I'm gonna leave about a third open, do the same over here. Yeah, so that should be good. We're gonna have enough air coming through to keep it warm but not let it keep running up to 300, which honestly with the wings could probably handle 300. I'd get a crispier skin, but I'm just going to try a very traditional smoking for this first time. So I pulled my grate off earlier so I could load up the bottom of this first, and I'm going to be experimenting with how this cooks. I can already see that my diffuser moved a little bit. I'm going to try and get that back into place close enough to the middle. Ooh, some good smoke in my eyes there. So yeah, I'm going to put some of these wings on the bottom, and I'm going to put the rest on the top. And again, I'm really just, the entire intent of this cook for me is to learn how this thing cooks. This is really all one big experiment. I'm learning about smoking, and I want to know how this smoker runs, right? So all of this for me is just a way to play around, have some fun with my new smoker that I built, and hopefully figure out how it runs for the long term. And we're going to discover that by testing here with a bunch of different things. So I'm going to try to put as much as possible identical things onto each layer, just to kind of see how my top cooking grate runs compared to my bottom cooking grate. And already I'm hitting the limits of my grates here a little bit. That's okay. I'm going to put the bigger pepper there because I know that the edges of this runs hotter. I've done a good bit of reading and all here, so whoops, come here. Probably at this point, yeah, we're cool enough. Go into here by hand, and then drop my onion down. Right, cool. So pretty happy with that. Not the most ideal use of my space, but it'll work. Get that off the edge there. All right, and now I'm going to put my top grate in, which again, I'm just trying to get used to doing things with tongs and all here wherever possible. Got some free grass. All right. Okay, and now I'm going to load in the top stuff. Again, trying to keep pretty similar to what I have at the bottom, just so I can compare for later. And I know I'm running these a little close to the edge, but you know, I'm testing things out. Again, I want to see how all this works. Let's load our big pineapple in, get our onion in, and then arrange the other stuff around the edges of all that. Let's see here. All right, so I'll load it up here. We certainly come down in temperature, but I'm probably gonna check another 10-15 minutes, 15 minutes, let's say. We'll see where my temperature's at, how well it's been holding on to its heat, and I think my total cook time is going to be about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the top end. I'm looking to get those wings to 180. I'll almost certainly be pulling off the veggies and all that sooner, but again, experimenting, figuring out how it works out, and should be a lot of fun. So we'll be back soon. All right, so checking this out here after about 15 minutes, we can see it hasn't really fully recovered up to the level I would like yet. It tells me kind of what I was suspecting earlier, that my charcoal that I've got is not burning as hot as I would like. Again, may just be a brand thing, but as a result of that, I'm going to go ahead and crank these vents back all the way open to see what we can get, and hopefully I can get back into that like 225 range after another 10 minutes or so. And if I get there, then I'll find a good medium ground, like maybe I leave them 2/3 open. We've got like a little bit of wind today that I think is hampering me here, but yeah, so let me go ahead and adjust that now. Get these all the way open. And yeah, I've got like a little bit of ash at my entry there, so clean that whole area out. Yeah, but I think it'll get back up. We know it was burning plenty hot earlier, since I was reaching 250 just about when I went to put the meat on, and that was just after about 15 minutes after I added the new charcoal. So we'll see what happens this time, but I'm hoping I come back out another 10-15 minutes and I'm hovering right at about 225, and like I said, I'll dial back down my bottom vents at that point if that's the case. All right, so it's been about 25 minutes since last time I was out here. I did come and check it one time. It's hovering kind of like earlier, just over 175, which is definitely lower than I want. I'm worried that my charcoal is not hot enough again, so I'm likely gonna take the pot off here in a second, get some more unlit charcoals in there in the chimney, get them up to temp about 5-10 minutes, and then dump them on top of the bed I've already got. I desperately need to get some more heat in here. It's a little disappointing me at how quickly it's cooling off, but I do suspect that could be related to the charcoal I'm using primarily. So we'll see if adding some more in here makes a difference, but I'm gonna get that going and then check back in next time. I'm just at about 45 minutes or so into the cook. Again, imagining I'll probably cook about 2 hours total. I think I want to get the temp back up and give my veggies and all another, after the temp gets up, maybe like 15 or 20 more minutes, if I can get into the 225 to 250 range. Give them another at least 15-30 minutes of good smoke, and then check them, see if they're ready to come off, and then at that point the chicken should have another 30 or 45 minutes, assuming I can keep it around 225. So that's my goal. But yeah, not totally sure why my charcoal's sputtering out the way it is, but I suspect it's not having the ring in the bottom to keep all the charcoal really contained and centralized into the kettle. So we will see. Okay, so I ended up thinking a little bit more about the problem last time, and interestingly, since then I've gotten up to just about 190, which isn't terrible, but I really want to get closer to 225, 230, something like that. Rather than interrupting my cook and putting the chimney directly onto the coals I already have, I just wanted to keep the cook going. So we've had that running this whole time, about another 15 minutes, and now I'm going to dump these in. So let's get the pot off here. I will have gloves next time I do this. I don't this time, obviously. And let's add some more nice hot charcoals into here. So this should kickstart the heat a lot. At this point, it's probably going to be the case that I'm going to actually need to tamp down my dampers on the bottom this time. But yeah, I'm going to check this out again in about 10 more minutes, maybe 15, see where I'm at. But I'm already seeing some smoke come through there. I let that run long enough in the chimney to make sure we didn't have like the gross white smoke coming out of it that you don't want. This isn't quite thin blue smoke, but I'm also not running an offset, right? So for the smoker I've got, this is about the kind of smoke I want. And again, I think in 10-15 minutes I'm going to check it, see if we've gotten into that 220 to 250 range where I want to be at. And if I get there, I'll probably knock my dampers down a little, like leave them 66% open this time instead of 33, see if I can maintain that temperature range. And again, at that point, I'll probably wait about another 20 minutes, check my fruits and veggies. I have not opened the top of this once. So since I started cooking, the top has stayed on. And yeah, I'm going to check those because, let's see, in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes, like I'm saying, that will have been about an hour and a half on those fruits and vegetables and all, which I think is probably enough time. I believe the wings are going to want another 30-ish minutes at that point. I'm trying to get the wings to about 160. But I'll temp check the wings too when I go to take the veggies off, and we'll do a video update then for sure. But yeah, I think I'm in a pretty good spot, and we'll see how it looks after it's had some time to build up the temperature. All right, so we're about 10 minutes later. It hasn't warmed up as much as I would like. We're only at 200 here. But it is warming up, you know, I can definitely see it's climbing. I was worried in 10 minutes, you know, with all those fresh coals down there that it might hop up to like 225. I've still got my vents 100% open, you know, so I can definitely see we're starting to get some like ash clogging those up. So I think I will go and try and like knock some of the ash out from the vent here just to get a little bit better airflow. But yeah, you know, it's definitely so far, at least with this charcoal, just a lot of patience required, which, I mean, it's barbecue, you know, it's not going to be fast. That's kind of the whole thing when you're smoking, is you're going low and slow, right? So at least that I'm getting to 200 degrees now makes me happy. You know, I think it's going to keep climbing. I'm hoping I'll hit 225 to 250. Going to check again in another like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And if I manage to hit that level, I'll probably pull my veggies then, because I think they're going to have smoked enough to be cooked through. And again, I'm hoping that at that point I'll have another 20 or 30 minutes left in the wings, but I will temperature check them, as I said before. So that's the current plan. We'll see how that works out. So yeah, again, I feel definitely like my biggest problem here is just that this charcoal is not burning hot enough. We've been almost 15 minutes later and it's just under 200 right now. So lesson learned, I'm going to grab the Kingston next time, spend a little more on my charcoal, and hopefully I'll see a big difference. However, I am at the time where I should be able to pull some stuff out. So I think my veggies are going to be good to go. And let's take a look and see what we got. The first reveal. Oh yeah, that was definitely smoked stuff in here. Let's see if those are tender enough. Well, oh yeah, that's nicely cooked. I'm going to definitely pull the veggies off. And while I'm in here, I'll check my wing temperature. Oh, the onion looks delicious. Wow. This veggie sausage is probably just about there too. Let's see how my wings are doing temperature-wise up top though. So we are 135 or so at the bone there, 140 on that one, 145 on that one, 150. So that's interesting that the back here is actually hotter for me, because that wing is basically done, especially since I'm going to crisp them up on the grill. 150 again. Interesting. So I'm going to rotate these around after I pull everything out here. See what the sausage is at. I mean, it's a veggie sausage, so it's fully cooked essentially. Yeah, that I'll probably also finish off on the grill when I finish the wings, but I'm going to move it to the middle as well as these. And let's see how I do here with pulling this grate out with food on it. Should be interesting. Yeah, not too bad. Not bad for a first try. I'm going to stick it on top of this chimney. Yeah, not bad at all. All right, let's pull out our other veggies. And we're going to check the temp of everything down here, see if we see a big temperature differential between the top and the bottom. So it's definitely warmer down here closer to the diffuser, which makes a lot of sense to me. That one wing is basically done. I don't want to overcook it. But these are similar. It's the flats that are cooking faster. That's really interesting. I actually wouldn't have predicted that the flats would cook that much faster, but it kind of makes sense since there's actually this one wasn't even a flat, this is a drum. Double check that temp again. Yeah, that one is just about there. I think what I'm gonna do is keep all this stuff to the center. Go ahead and try and get the back side of these two. I'm gonna keep all this to the center. I might just go down to just this one grill grate too, now that I've got less stuff here. And I think my plan is going to be leave it running like it is, although with the top being off this long, oh, look at how much more color they got at the top than the bottom. That is super interesting. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave it for about another 30 minutes to let the wings finish coasting up their last bit. And then I'm going to grill those off to finish them, and we'll be done. In the meantime, I will probably enjoy some of these veggies, and that one wing I'm going to try without going in to finish it off, just so I have a textural comparison. But yeah, pretty happy with that. Let's get this lid back on so we don't lose any more heat than we have to. And yeah, I'm going to check. I'll probably check them, come out in 20 minutes and see what my heat is looking like. And that'll give me a good idea if we're back up to 175 to 200. I'll probably wait another 10 minutes. I'm actually curious now with less stuff in there if I will come up to heat faster. We'll see what happens. May also, when I'm done here, take this off and just stir around my coals to try and give myself a little bit better chance of success. Get some new stuff showing up or whatever there. But yeah, no, happy with how this turned out and excited to try some of these out as well. All right, so we're at about 15 minutes later or so, maybe 20. You can actually see, finally, I've gotten to the temperature range I wanted. This thing's sitting at almost 225, just a hair over 220 right now, which is basically what I was looking for the whole time. So it's interesting that with this charcoal, at least, the Ridge charcoal that I'm using, and again, it may be just older. That could be why it was on sale at Lowe's. I'm not sure. But that charcoal, interestingly, seems to be topping out at about 225, because that's about as hot as I had it earlier too. So it's telling me my temperature at the lid was cooler before, because I had stuff between where the heat's coming up around my diffuser and where I had that middle rack earlier was absorbing a lot of the heat, so I had less heat going to my top thermometer. So interestingly, I probably was smoking close to 225 most of that time, so that's perfect. I think my wings are done now, so I'm going to go ahead and check the temperature on those. So let's take a look. Oh, they look very nice for sure. Really, really, really happy with how all that's looking. Let's get some temperatures. Veggie sausage 167, still just under 150 there, which I want that higher. And I'm checking at the bone because that's going to be the cooler spot. 150, 145. Interesting. I might end up actually moving these a little closer to the edge to finish them off. I'd kind of thought these were going to be higher at this point since it's been running hotter. 150. I had the one that I ate earlier was at 160, which this one is now too, so that one's done. Yeah, this one also done. But I think my sausages, they're definitely ready to come off. Okay. And notice, interesting to note that the nearer side to me here was a little warmer this time. So I think what I'm going to do is move these more towards the edge so they'll get a little bit more direct heat coming up on the bottom side here, and give it like another call it 10 minutes and check them. I've actually got my grill going right now so I can finish these off and get a nice finish on them. But yeah, I think I'll take 10 more minutes, I'll probably grill off all of these on the grill here in just a minute, which I'll get some video of, and then I'll come back after I've grilled those off and check the temperature on these. So not lose too much heat, and yeah, that'll be it for now. Okay, so I've had my Weber 2-burner Spirit here heating up for a while. This is my gas grill I've been using for about 5 years now. It's been very, very reliable. I enjoy cooking on this a lot. And so this is going to be, interestingly, my first time doing meat on this, where I'm finishing the meat on the grill, which seems kind of fun. So almost 500, that should be plenty hot enough to crisp these up. So I'm just going to drop them straight onto here. Hearing a good sizzle makes me happy. I know these veggie sausages don't need much, so I'm going to run them a little bit towards the colder end of my grill here. And I think I'm going to move this one down to be more of a indirect heat source, just to make sure it doesn't cool off all the way. I'm going to leave that pretty hot on that side. So yeah, it should end up probably in the 400-ish range. I'm going to give those maybe like 2-3 minutes, flip them, and then after another 2-3 minutes, see how they look on both sides. Flip again if need be and all that. But I'm just trying to get some color, some grill marks, and yeah, we'll see how it looks. But I think that should be a nice way to finish these off. So. Alright, so we actually got a little more heat here than I was expecting. We're almost at 550. Again, with this thermostat, who knows what it actually is telling me, but you know, it's something. Oh yeah, and this is kicking up. It's about what I expected with these veggie sausages, was they were going to cook really fast. So not too surprised there. Let's see about the wings. Ooh, those are beautiful. Look at that. Very, very happy with getting some nice color on the outside of that. I'm going to do the same thing here. Give those another couple minutes. Probably turn this back down just a skosh. Turn that side down some too, just because we're getting a little more heat than I was expecting there. And yeah, we'll check that again in a few minutes, and they should be good to come off. And then I'll go check the temperature of my other wings. It's just a few more minutes here. We got back up to just over 500, which makes me a little happier to see that. And yep, we got good color all around on the veggie sausage. Probably a little too dry on those. That's all right. Good color on both sides of these wings now. Definitely happy with that. And I'm going to crank that back up actually a bit, at least on this side, just so that when my wings come over from over there, the grill grates are back up, and I'll know what to turn them down to this next time to make them stay where I want it at. But yeah, it's going well, and gonna go check the temp on those wings now. All right, so we can see here that this actually came back up nicely to 225 again. So yeah, I think that is actually the heat that these charcoals are burning at, since that's what it's registering on the top here without much at the bottom to get in the way, or in the middle rather, to get in the way. So I'm going to check the temp on those wings now. We should be there this time, is my expectation. It's still a bit low. Interesting. That one's definitely there. Still low. Really interesting how inconsistently these are cooking. It makes me wonder if I've got like kind of hot spots running in here, or what is happening with that. That was fine. I know the thermometer's good. That's the one thing I can be sure of in this situation. I have a good thermometer there. That should be good enough. Let me just double check on these ones. Maybe I'm sampling it at a weird spot. Oh yeah, okay. I just, right at the bone, it was a little under, but the actual meat along the bone is fine. So that makes a lot of sense to me. Well, that one's still a little under. It is a meatier wing though. Let me just stick that. No, it's fine over there. Weird. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and call those good. So to stop my cook here, I'm gonna go ahead and close my grates all the way down. Close the dampers, I mean to say. So let's go to nothing on my dampers. And I want to save as much of my charcoal as I can here, so that's sort of what my thought process is at the moment. Since I used a ton of charcoal for this first cook, if I can have some of it that's still good for next time, I would like to reuse some of it next time. So we're going to close those all the way down, pull this off, and drop this right on top there. So theoretically, if I'm correct, that should pretty much stop those charcoals from burning anymore, and I can leave this here for a while. Theoretically, they're not getting any oxygen, so they should stop burning in due time, or at least burn out what they've got left at the moment. But yeah, happy with how this performed for sure. Definitely got some nice color in there compared to where it started at. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish these off on the grill now, and then we'll I'll show you the picture of my final product. And yeah, feeling pretty good about this overall. Took a little longer than I was expecting. You know, the fire was a little harder to manage, but from what I've tasted so far, the results are definitely worth it. All right, so I just shut my gas grill down here. You can see I actually ended up getting it dialed in to stick right at about 500, which is pretty much perfect for me for what I'm doing. And I think these look amazing. Yeah, great color on every side. As you can see, I ate one of my sausages already. It was quite tasty. Like I said, a little dry. That's been my experience with a lot of these veggie-based meats, is they end up being a little dry. You got to do a lot of saucing and everything, but I thought I would try it dry and see what happened. I did add oil and seasoning like with everything else. Yeah, but these look great. So my last step here is I'm going to take them inside, sauce them with some buffalo wing sauce, and I'll show you my finished plate. But from what I've tasted so far, this has all been amazing, and I think it's going to be really delicious.